Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2. Joining me today is
Steve.
And today we're continuing our martial arts movie month. Martial arts history month would be weird. I don't know enough about the progression of things. Martial arts movie month with a review of Jackie Chan's Drunken Master. This is kind of interesting. I feel like we've done these movies in the wrong order. We should have done, this, and then Jet Li's Fist of Legend, and then Forbidden Kingdom to get the Jackie Jet combo hit. But here we are. We did it backwards.
You know, it's a little unfortunate because we keep going just a little bit further back in time, and it makes me wish that the next thing that we do is actually even older than this. Like, we should do the 36th Chamber of Shaolin after this.
No, but this is an interesting one. I had a weird experience with this. I could not find... I normally am like a big advocate of I'd rather just have a good dub than try to catch up with subtitles, particularly when it's like animated or it's like an action-heavy film. Mm-hmm. I could not find the original audio of this. I could only find English dub. I checked on like 3 different sources, and it was all just the dub only. They didn't have any like audio track options.
Oh no.
I mean, the dub wasn't terrible for this, but it's weird because I remembered watching the dub of Drunken Master like way back in the day during like late 90s, early 2000s. Jackie Chan's kind of like heyday. And I didn't. I realized he made a sequel that's like also a reboot or something, and it is not at all the same movie. So I watched I think Drunken Master 2 or something at some point, and it was nothing like this. The only line I really remembered from Drunken Master 2 was like when his dad or master maybe is sitting there talking about how there's like advantages to the drunken style, but the fact that you have to be drunk can bring inherent shame upon you, so you shouldn't do it. And so I was kind of waiting for that line to come up, and it just doesn't. It's just not in this.
Yep. Well, he doesn't. He doesn't do any of the drunken fist stuff until like literally the end of the movie.
Yeah, no, that's the weird thing about it. But no, this is like Jackie Chan's first big hit. I think he'd like. I remember seeing him in a Bruce Lee movie, like, just one of those people that just gets tossed to the side at some point.
Yeah.
So he'd, like, been around the scene for a while. I don't know if he'd done much, like, starring roles before this, but this was, like, his big breakout hit, from what I've come to understand.
Yeah, so Jackie Chan's career trajectory is interesting because he did play bit parts in a couple Bruce Lee movies. He's in Fist of Fury and he's in Enter the Dragon. There's actually a really good scene in Enter the Dragon where Bruce Lee's taken out a bunch of henchmen in an underground James Bond style lair, and the guy whose neck he snaps is Jackie Chan. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's funny.
But after Bruce Lee got big, and then very soon afterwards when he died, Jackie Chan was picked up by a producer who wanted to essentially make him the next Bruce Lee, because Bruce Lee was making hits in Asia, but it took him a while to like really catch on in America. And his first big American movie was Enter the Dragon, and he died before it came out. So like he never had a chance to like really make a splash until after he died. So Jackie Chan was kind of molded as the replacement for Bruce Lee, and he even made a movie called New Fist of Fury, where he was basically doing the same style story as the original Fist of Fury, but like instead of Bruce Lee, it's Jackie Chan now. And there's quite a few movies in the 70s and the mid to late 70s where Jackie Chan is just essentially doing Bruce Lee style martial arts and Bruce Lee style action movies. Drunken Master is sort of a turning point. I was thinking about this as I was watching it, but I think what you can really pinpoint Drunken Master for is the first half of the movie is Jackie Chan in the shadow of Bruce Lee, where he's playing an impatient, rude, hot-headed kid student, very much in the mold of like a Fist of Fury Bruce Lee style character. And the action comedy and everything is there, but for the most part it feels like the kind of movie that Bruce Lee would have made. And then in the second half, when he's not the instigator of the fighting anymore and suddenly he's being the character that's attacked, he starts to transform into what Jackie Chan would become famous for. So this is like the first movie that does the action comedy stuff that Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan wanted to do. The martial arts style and the way of filming the martial art is vastly different than what Bruce Lee was doing. And it's after this, when he makes movies like The Fearless Hyena and then later the Police Story movies, where he really becomes Jackie Chan.
Yeah, I remember hearing Jackie Chan talk about like the distinction between himself and Bruce Lee, and he's like, well, Bruce Lee was like steel, you know, he hit someone and he didn't move, they moved. Whereas I'm more like human than that. I hit someone and then I've got to like blow in my hand. Like that's just like the most, you know, iconic Jackie Chan kind of trope, I guess, of just kind of reaction. Where it's like, if you're this good at it, you wouldn't be doing that, but you are. So no, it is interesting to see. I definitely see what you're saying about like the film works as a literal transition in the career trajectory too, of going from that more you know, troublemaker kind of vibe to becoming more the goofy, silly, like, you know, Buster Keaton or Bugs Bunny kind of martial artist. So yeah, I don't know. The dub for this wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. I'm not sure if I just got used to it quickly enough or if it just kind of managed to be pretty decent overall. But I do kind of wish I had watched this in the original subs, just because it'd be interesting to see. But it is interesting to compare this. Do you think there is something to the fact that, like, Jackie Chan caught on doing something so different from Bruce Lee because of the, like, Western tendency to try to, like, emasculate Asian characters, Asian actors, Asian peoples?
I think that's probably a level of it. Yeah, I mean, it should be noted that like Jackie Chan wouldn't have gotten big if not for Bruce Lee's death, and then the first big thing that happens post Bruce Lee's death is Bruce Lee exploitation films, and that Bruce Lee had spent so much of his career, as short as it was, trying to kick back on the stereotype of emasculated Asian lead actors. Like, he dealt with a lot of racism when he was making movies, and the reason movies like Fist of Fury and Enter the Dragon and Way of the Dragon worked the way they do is he was trying to play against that Asian stereotype. And when he was finally successful at it, his successor is a guy that got even bigger, doing something very similar, where he's an action hero, but he's an action hero that doesn't question the masculine identity of anyone who is white or American. And there are movies in his filmography that I think kind of touch on that. But I think the difference between Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan is that Jackie Chan was able to be way more brand conscious in a way that Bruce Lee probably couldn't have been, just because he didn't live long enough to be. And so I think Jackie Chan's probably painfully aware of this too, and that's why he's so selective about the kinds of American movies he was making in the 80s and 90s, and then later in the late 2000s. He was offered a whole bunch of movies in the 90s when he first got big in America, but most of them were like as villains. And he didn't want to do that because he knew that that might like mess with his image a little bit. But playing the clown, that sort of that idea of martial arts where it's really cool action but the character is kind of non-threatening, is probably why so many people latch onto him, and I think he knows that.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it because it's not like you may be laughing at him, but not in a way that feels like demeaning.
Right.
It's just because of like the absurdity of it. It is, again, I think very much in like that Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin kind of what's he gotten into now, but it's just, you know, got this this Eastern tinge, like coating of martial arts on it, is just inherently interesting. I don't think it's like, you know, inherently bad. It just, you know, we're sitting there talking about Bruce Lee, and I'm like, yeah, Bruce Lee is like steel, but Jackie Chan does have to like blow on his fist after he hits someone, and it's, you know, you name the martial artists that kind of come and get big after Jackie Chan. It's Jet Li, it's Donnie Yen, right?
Yeah, Donnie Yen. Yeah.
Donnie Yen. And they're doing much more like in the Bruce Lee mold. They're a lot more serious. They're a lot more grounded, even if they're in like kind of goofier scenes or something. It's, you know, you're never like laughing at them. So it might be a case of, you know, Jackie Chan kind of prepared the ground for people to take that stuff a little bit more seriously, or he might have just done the comedic side of things so perfectly that no one else really has a path there until he's like gone.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big part of it too, is that like the Bruce Lee exploitation films really served to demonstrate that nobody was going to be able to do Bruce Lee except for Bruce Lee. And so your only opportunity was to pivot later with like Jet Li and Donnie Yen in the 2000s. But Jackie Chan carves such a perfect spot for himself that it's really hard to imagine that anyone else could do stuff like this. I mean, there are like John Woo movies that have the same sort of level of campiness to them, but the action is never the thing that's funny. It's the actors. Whereas Jackie Chan's like perfect marriage of like, this is impeccably staged and is also hilarious, is something that I think no one's really quite cracked. Even as he's gotten older, he's never able to quite crack it as well as he has in like that 70s, 80s, 90s period where he was in peak form. I don't know if it's clear or not from the pace of this conversation, but I really love this movie. I think it's delightful in how much you get to watch Jackie Chan become a movie star before your eyes, because he's cultivating that new persona for himself. He's doing things that you are not used to in martial arts movies. The actual like choreography of the fights is so intricate, even though he makes it look so simple. And it's because all of it just kind of comes back to like really almost like dance numbers of moving your feet in sequence with your partner. And the bit early on when he's messing with his teacher's hat, and the way he's just got all that insane flexibility. It's a kind of like physical showcase that it's surprising that Chan himself didn't direct this movie like he would go on to later, because it feels so much like it's anchored by him and him alone.
I mean, it does really feel like it is something that is written for him or like created around him, as opposed to he just got lucky with it or something like that.
For sure.
So I think that all like merges really well, and I would be surprised if he didn't have a lot of creative input like behind the camera on this one, even if he's not the one directing or writing it. I wonder, the version I watched didn't bother to include the credits, so I wonder who did the choreography, if he's like credited as part of like the fight choreography for this.
I don't think he is, but that might just be like a credit thing, and he may have done stuff behind the scenes. Because I was looking through some of Wikipedia's stuff on Jackie Chan earlier in the week to figure it out, and they list a different movie as the first time that he's credited as the choreographer for an action movie. So I don't know if that means that's the first time he literally got the credit, or the first time he's ever actually done it, which seems hard to believe.
I mean, especially with like, such a focus on him throughout everything here. He's in every fight in this movie. There's no point where like he steps back to watch someone else fight, right? Like he's doing all of it.
Yeah.
Except for like the very first fight and then the bit with his dad. But otherwise he is like just so present on every bit of this. That it's kind of crazy. It is funny how the movie starts with the villain.
I know.
That was kind of interesting. But what did you think of when we finally get to like what the movie is about? What did you think of the drunken master fighting style here?
I really love the way it's done in this, where you get to see Jackie Chan kind of evolve into it. The training montage you get where Beggar So is telling him about like the different drunk deities and mirroring their style, and you get to see like this one's holding the big gourd and this one's got like right-legged kicks, and the way that each one of those is focused on a very specific kind of style of movement, and then you get to watch him do martial arts with like that very clear, visible limitation on him and how that changes the way he moves. And then when he stitches them all together at the end when he's fighting the bad guy, I thought all of that was really, really good. It's part of why I was so down on Forbidden Kingdom. Is like Forbidden Kingdom, he's supposed to constantly be drinking alcohol and he's supposed to have a drunken fighting style. But then you watch this and you realize like how intricate and how nuanced the drunken fist stuff actually is. And you don't see that really anywhere besides these movies, where Jackie Chan gets to like do the full body. He's moving around. He's pushing his stance in and out a lot. He's got his eyes. His eyes are kind of droopy because he's supposed to be drunk. The way that he's always just like moving in awkward directions and getting pushed and pulled by his opponent. The thing about it that I think is really cool is in the ending fight with the bad guy, he goes through a whole sort of drunken fight, and then halfway through he basically sobers up and has to get drunk again in order to kind of get back into gear. I thought that was really cool, and I like that you get to watch the progression of like, this is how every individual part of the drunken fist contributes to the greater whole, and it all ends on like the drunk lady thing that he didn't want to practice. I really like it. I think it's really cool, and the movie, it's not, I don't want to say it's poorly shot, because I don't think it's poorly shot by any stretch, but it's very minimalist. This is not a movie that cares about doing a lot of like complex camera setups or composition. What it cares about is the camera needs to be stable and clear enough so that you watch people's full body movements. And as long as you can do that, the camera can be anywhere. And that, I think that process would die completely if you weren't just in awe of how Jackie Chan's moving.
100%. Like that's one of the early things I learned about fight choreography filming is like, if you have actors that know how to fight, then you keep the camera back and relatively stable, and you just enjoy watching them fight. If you have actors that don't know how to fight, then you get real close and move the camera and do lots of cuts. I've seen people try to like experiment with it a little bit here or there, but generally, that's pretty much just a truism. And so it is, really like far back and stuff. Almost to the point where I do think it's a bit of a problem because, like, it seems like they just kind of keep moving people around. Because they'll start a fight in a really crowded area. Yeah. And then, like, as the fight is going on for so long, there's just no one in the background anymore because I guess they got bored and left.
Yeah,
So
they
like
kind of
I always notice that.
they do kind of put themselves into a corner with a couple of the fights early on, like when he's taking on that rich kid in the market area, because that's a really cool location for a fight. But you're right, the entire space just kind of empties out, and that fight goes on for like 10 minutes. Like it's a long fight.
Yeah, I mean, like when he pulls out the sword and everything, like it's all really cool, but it does kind of go on forever. One thing you said that I'll kind of harp on as one of my criticisms of the movie though is the drunken fist does not show up really until way late, like
Yeah.
last 20 minutes of the movie. I mean, you get a little bit of it in that you're seeing the master do it against him, and like it's super effective there, but it's not quite the same as like him learning it. You know, him learning is mostly just literally being tortured, and then we get the big montage where it talks about the drunken masters, and I feel like that was the maybe I just watched this under the wrong circumstances. It was at the end of a very long day. I was getting tired. And so I was like literally during that section of like going through each of the drunken gods, I was nodding off, and I had to keep like making myself wake up and look, and like luckily I'd recovered fully by the time we got to the final fight, but that part did feel just like really drawn out and slow, and I think maybe the movie would have been better served by just, instead of haha isn't it funny to watch him be tortured, just distributing the drunken deities throughout the training, as opposed to just dumping them all on him at once.
It is. I'll agree with you to a point where I think it is maybe like 20 minutes too long. And I think a lot of that is because of the early segments. Because if you just cut some of the early stuff and get to him and his relationship with Beggar So earlier, it would feel like a better paced movie. The thing that really bothered me was just all of the antics that go between his dad wanting to punish him up through him meeting his new master, like the bit in the restaurant and the thing where he has to do and sit in the horse stance and his teacher is watching him, and the bit in the basement where he's just like got that thing around his neck. Like each scene individually is not bad per se, but it starts to feel like we're just doing gag after gag after gag, and I would have gladly cut like 2 out of 3 of those to just get to the drunken master stuff quicker.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would have been good. I think I like bits about the training with his master and stuff, but it does feel like it just kind of focuses too much on the physical preparation as opposed to the training in and of itself. I don't know. There has to be some of that to a degree, but it made the discovery of the masters feel boring because it came so late and it was done so quick, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
I do think that like his actual like training regimen that he does with his master once he like comes back to him after getting his ass whooped, I thought that stuff was really good, and it again sort of feels like that should have been more of the core of the movie. The bit where he's hung upside down and he's taking the 2 cups and putting water from the ones on the ground to the one up top, and he tries to cheat, and then his master's like, okay, now here, do it again with 2 smaller cups.
No, it wasn't do it again. It was now unfill the bucket with these 2 smaller cups. That's the best part.
It's so
like, oh, why did I do No,
Yeah.
like, I like that. I like the individual bits, but it just, I don't know. It feels a bit weird. I do want to talk about the bit where he gets his ass kicked, because I found that was really interesting with my reading that I've been doing. So the founding of the Han Dynasty is like really, really fascinating. I forget the name of the opposition, but like in Chinese chess, one side is called Han and the other side is called is named for the opposing force that like would have established the next dynasty if they'd won. And the Han general that like gets really big and like helps, you know, he's seen as like the greatest military genius of the time, is Han Shi. and it's like a bit surprising that he became as great as he did. It was because like the thing he was most notable of before he became the general of this rebel army was he was carrying around a sword, and someone told him, if you're going to carry around a sword, you should be ready to kill someone. So if you're not willing to kill me to get out of this door, then you're going to have to walk underneath my, or you're going to have to crawl underneath my legs, to like show that he has no spine, because he's not willing to just kill somebody because he's got a sword. So he like crawls underneath the dude's legs, and it like haunts him for years and years, and no one takes him seriously. So actually getting that, like, you get out of here. If you train for 20 years, you'll never match me. And the only way I'm going to let you leave is if you crawl underneath my legs. This is just like such a fun connection to have. It's like, oh, hey, that's a reference to this thing.
It also helps kind of, it helps you see more of his like despair at the end of losing that fight. That like he lost in such humiliating fashion. So of course he wants to go back and recommit himself to that training. Because like his expression in that fight after he gets his ass kicked and then walks between his legs, like he looks, that's like the most down he ever looks in the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that quite a bit. So I thought that was such a cool little reference to sneak in there to like show, okay, here's our character at his lowest, and the fact that it lined up with what I'd learned. I thought that was just so fucking cool.
What did you think of the villain character in general?
He's okay. I feel like he just needed something else. Like it's hard to say because, you know, he fucking kicks the hero's ass. He kills the guy in the intro. He kicks the hero's dad's ass. Like, no one fucking touches him until Jackie starts doing the drunken master style stuff. And that's cool, but I don't know. Like, I guess his style just isn't cool enough in and of itself. Like, he talks about how, like, strong his kicks are or whatever. But it just, I don't know. It doesn't have, like, the right like spice to it, you know, to be going up against the drunken style. That it feels like it's underwhelming by comparison.
That's interesting. Maybe this is a little too harsh, but I wondered, because we were talking about Jackie Chan trying to shed the Bruce Lee persona, I wondered if the bad guy and his devil's kick thing was sort of a nod to Bruce Lee. Because when Bruce Lee started making martial arts movies with like The Big Boss, producers didn't like him because he would basically do 3 kicks, kick 3 people in the face, they'd all go down immediately. And they thought the fights were too quick. And Fist of Fury compared to like Fist of Legend we were talking about, the big difference between those two movies is Bruce Lee's just killing people left and right in the movie. Like there's no plot about him getting framed. He literally just murders like 4 or 5 people over the course of that movie with his martial arts. And I wondered a little bit if like the bad guy, the fact that his signature move is his kick, that he just kills you with it immediately, and that Jackie Chan's character is kind of built on a Bruce Lee archetype and then gets humiliated by a guy who's actually more of that archetype. And the only way to beat him is to do something that's so quintessentially the opposite. So that's kind of what I liked about him. I think even in that reading, though, you do kind of get the fact that he's sort of an empty vessel, where he doesn't have too much of his own personality. So I'll agree with you there. But I did think the devil's kick stuff and how that relates to Jackie Chan's own journey in the movie, I did like that quite a bit.
It was okay. I don't know, like when he's like 30% hands, 70% legs or whatever, I was like, what does that even mean?
Did you have a favorite fight?
It would be when his master just will not let him go. Like when he's like, okay, I'm gonna just kick your fucking ass with my style, because that's I think the time you get to see the drunken style at its best, where, you know, you've been seeing Jackie Chan not necessarily like kick everyone's ass, but he's been doing pretty well for himself. It was only in the restaurant after he gets ganged up on that he like really starts to have any trouble. So I thought that was pretty good. Well, not that's not true because he loses to his aunt, but at the same time, uh, he doesn't have too much trouble, or like he feels like he's got a good chance against a lot of the other characters, but he just doesn't get absolutely dominated by anyone until his master, and that's the one that's just the most fun. Of just like this, crazy old man who's just lugging around the jug and just so fucking disrespectful to just drink in the middle of a fight. It's so crazy.
The guy who plays his master too, he's delightful. He's having the time of his life messing with Jackie Chan.
Yeah, I think he's great. And it's kind of interesting, like that it shows that there's a downside to the drunken style, which is that if he's not drunk during it, he's worse. But also, if he's not been able to get drunk in a while, he's terrible and it's like actually detrimental. I thought that was actually like a perfect downside to it. That he's got like the shakes and because he can't be drunk right now, he can't like fully get into his style. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, that's I like that bit quite a bit. That actually gets me to my favorite fight because the master starts to get the shakes when the guy that they beat up, the bald guy that they beat up, brings the King of Bamboo over with his staff, and when Jackie Chan later fights the King of Bamboo after he's had some time to train, I thought that whole fight was fantastic. Where he is. When he's just like literally Bugs Bunnying him and makes him fall into shit and everything. That's such a good fight.
Yeah, no, I think that was one of my favorite bits. Just again, yeah, the Bugs Bunny reference is perfect because that just feels very Bugs Bunny of like this move called Eat Shit, and he like stops him just before he gets there, and then he just slams his face into it. Just so mean.
And
there is something to just like the level of disrespect that a martial artist can get away with in a movie. You know, like because I remember someone took some screen caps of like Goku of like when Goku is winning a fight, this dude can become so disrespectful. Like they posted like him fucking standing on Nappa's head and shit. I'm like, yeah, that energy is just so crazy, but it like feels different when you put it in a movie, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, he's really disrespectful when he's winning that fight. But then there's also the bald guy that they beat up earlier, and he hits him on the head with like a hammer, and he's literally got like cartoon giant swollen spots on his head. It's so fucking good.
It's a lot of fun. It is crazy seeing just like young Jackie Chan. He's just so fucking ripped in this, and like this is before any of his like major filming industries and filming injuries and shit. So it's just literally like at his perfect physical prime. And the Goku thing entered my head earlier because Jackie Chan like at this age would have been like the perfect live action Goku archetype, and just that's like the ultimate like dream cast somehow. I don't know who you would get in the modern day, but like that would be Drunken Master 1978 Jackie Chan would have just been so fucking perfect.
Oh, absolutely. The martial arts stuff that he does in this, where he's doing like variations on different animal styles and a lot of like traditional kung fu stuff, that's also like such a unique flavor of martial arts movie where like it's both real, but it's also just so corny that you can't help take it completely seriously. Because like the guy,
you're a turtle in your shell.
Yeah, exactly. Like you watch his hand movements and stuff, and you're like, yeah, no, I used to do a little bit of kung fu. I recognize a bit of this. We did do animal styles and everything. That makes sense. But like the fact that they switch between so many, and the fact that he's dropping them with silly names and stuff, and the fact that everyone just takes it seriously, there's something about martial arts movies like this and Snake in the Eagle's Shadow, and like anyone that just leans into the fact that these are meant to be campy, and that the campiness helps deflate some of the serious drama, but you're okay with it because what you're seeing is you're watching two like athletes go at it in presumably a very dangerous situation where they could kill each other, and they're doing it entirely for your amusement.
Mm-hmm. No, I really do appreciate it. It's so crazy the level of physicality here, and you know, like when you learn about. I didn't do any behind the scenes research on this movie in particular, but like anytime you do any research on a lot of these 70s, 80s kung fu movies, you realize like how much of the stuff is just not safe, is not like concerned with actor safety and stuff. People are legitimately getting injured. Like, I don't think anyone necessarily wants to hurt someone else on these, except that time that one dude pissed off Bruce Lee and so he gave him an actual kick. But like, I think the thing that makes this era of film, of martial arts film, so beloved is it might be corny, it might be over the top, but like their way of, well, how do we make it look good is, well, let's just do it for real.
Yes.
Fuck it. Like, we're professionals. We know how to fight each other. We'll just do it for real. We won't really worry about like having this perfectly choreographed. Everyone knows when the hit is coming and like how to roll with it so that it looks good, but no one actually gets hurt. It's like, nah, if you get hurt, that's our bad. But like, you know what you're signing up for.
Yeah, this is like the perfect middle ground, I feel like, to what martial arts movies should aspire to as far as like the physicality. Obviously, you want to be safe and you don't want to do this where people could lose eyes and limbs and shit. But when you look at like the wire fu stuff, the stuff where it's like too in your face about how fake it is and too like dependent on the special effects and the stunt team and not enough on the physicality, or if you go too much on the other side and you do like one of those more modern, gritty Donnie Yen style martial arts movies where it looks like a street fight, it looks more legit, it looks less appealing to the camera but more efficient in like a strictly I want to beat a guy up. Both of those things have their place, but that middle ground of these people can really do this and they are really doing it, but they are also acting and they're outstretching their limbs and their punches and stuff in a way to make it look good for the camera while they're really doing it. I think this is like the perfect balance. Fist of Legend we were talking about last week, and we both really like the fight scenes in that. That movie I know some people don't like because Jet Li does a lot of like the sped up camera stuff to make himself look even faster. And I don't mind it in moderation, but like this, when I think about like martial arts movies, like the stereotypical martial arts movie, this is where my brain goes. It's this kind of stuff where they're not adding any pop and circumstance to it. They're not trying to fool you. There's just a camera and two guys in a sand pit, and they are just beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah, no, and that's like the best way to do it. Just it fucking slaps.
Yeah, literally.
It's and like just it's not that there's not dangers to it. It's not that there's not concerns that are valid, blah 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 blah. But it's like there is something of just the balls to just go out and do it, and it is like this weird blend of it's not a sport, but it's not just a movie anymore. It is like this physical performance art.
Yes, 100%.
Like it's it's weirdly more akin to ballet than it is to anything else, because there's levels of choreography. They're still trying to tell a story. It's got the trappings. You can be forgiven if you think it's a film, but it's really not. It's trying to do something else very particular, and it's really impressive in how it manages to get away with it. And it like kind of just developed naturally over time. So like the reason that these are so beloved and so fucking good is, yeah, the fighting style might be like exaggerated and ridiculous, but it is still, they are actually just hitting each other like that.
Yeah.
Does the Drunken style leave openings that the other that the villain actor isn't taking? absolutely, but that doesn't matter because it's still just like really happening on film. It's not as rehearsed and stuff as what we're used to now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, Jackie Chan's background, like he's done dance, he's done like old school Chinese opera, like he understands the pageantry of a lot of the stuff that goes into the choreography, which is I think part of why it's so good and why it's so unique, because you're going into each of these action scenes in like a regular martial arts movie, and sometimes they're really melodramatic and they want the emotions to be really high, like two best friends fighting each other, or like an angry military general versus Jet Li or something. But with like a Jackie Chan movie, in any situation that you can imagine, someone might start throwing hands and Jackie Chan's not going to know what to do, and that just makes the fight both feel more unique, more of a surprise, and it makes the jokes funnier, I feel like when he just starts messing with people in the middle of a fight, like you're exactly right, like it's like something you'd see in Dragon Ball where people are just like clowning for half the fight as much as they're being serious, and no one quite does that quite as well as Jackie Chan, and he clearly is getting a kick out of doing this, and it suits him and him as an actor way more than like a Bruce Lee style serious character ever has. um, when we go through like all of these martial arts movies we talked about, I think very few martial arts stars are good actors. Like I think Donnie
Mhm.
Yen's a good actor. I don't think Jet Li is. And I like Bruce Lee movies. Don't get me wrong. I have a friend who knows everything there is to know about Bruce Lee, and he likes Bruce Lee movies. But I would hesitate to call Bruce Lee a good actor. Um, Jackie Chan though is a good actor. Jackie Chan understands how the camera perceives him. Jackie Chan understands the timing of a gag and the timing of jokes. He understands how he's going to look and how to make his co-stars look good. And I think that's really kind of the secret sauce of this, of like, even if the fights weren't quite as good as they are, Jackie Chan's just got such a good screen presence that he's going to pull you into it regardless.
I think you're 100% right on that. I think that's the thing that makes him shine in just a way that other actors from martial arts movies like can't. It's weird because the thing that you need to do to be a good martial arts movie actor, right, is you need to spend years and years doing martial arts. Like it's not that like we haven't had fighting action stars that didn't do training and didn't get good, but it's just someone like Jet Li is on a whole different level to someone like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Jet Li competed in and won tournaments in his fucking childhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
While Keanu was going to like acting school and stuff. So it's two very different types. So it's like it would be very hard to find someone, or it's very hard to find someone who is good at both of those things. Who like you kind of have to be a natural talent that also spent like the first 15 to 20 years of your life just fighting.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you got to keep up with it, and you've got to be able to combine stuff on the fly, because you can't just be good at one martial and expect to be like a good martial arts movie actor. You've got to be good at multiple. And you got to know how to combine the various movements in a way where the styles are still recognizable and they look good on camera. I mean, that's the big thing that like a lot of American action movies that try to have intense choreography kind of lack, is they don't always get that balance of realism with things that look good on camera. The Daredevil Netflix show is one that, like, for years, I've kind of never understood the praise for the action sequences in that show, because I always feel like they don't understand what they're trying to do. Where the hallway fights that they try to do every season, the first one in like the second or third episode of the series, it's a dark hallway. It goes entirely straight, and Daredevil goes in and beats up a bunch of guys, and the fight's supposed to be realistic and gritty, so people are like panting and sweating and struggling to get up, and you can hear them agonize. And then while Daredevil is out of breath and leaning against a wall, his go-to move to knock a guy out is to do a spin and jump kick over his head. I'm like, okay, you can do one of these things. You can be exhausted and lazy, or you could do the spinning jump kick. You can't do both. You don't understand that suddenly this breaks the reality of that scene. And so many Western action movies kind of have this problem where like they don't know how to put someone like on the back foot in the middle of a fight, let them be exhausted, and then still maintain like the intense choreography. And I think this movie does a really good job of like when Jackie Chan's getting beat up, he feels like he's lost a step or like he's getting exhausted, but the momentum of the fight never really slows down. And it's just silly enough where you can kind of buy how quickly he recovers or how quickly the alcohol hits him when he starts going into that drunken style. And that approach where like you just have to understand the tone of the thing you're trying to execute, and that the fights are the king, and the fights have to be dictated by what the individual characters' motivations are and what the individual characters are trying to do at this particular point in the story. And these are so much better than I think a lot of modern martial arts movies, even because they understand that the thing that we are here to watch is the performers performing and not necessarily something gritty or realistic.
Yeah, and it's funny because this is like 10 times more real than like the Daredevil fight, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm just gonna say, if you like trained your whole life for, vengeance or whatever, and you get just exhausted after one fight through a hallway with a bunch of dudes, I feel like you really fucked up your training pattern or something. Like you should have more stamina than that.
Also, like, you're a boxer, dude. You don't need to be doing the spinning jump kicks. Just box them to death.
Well, like, that's the thing, right? Like, yeah, he's fighting a lot of guys, but he's taking most of them out in, like, 2 to 3 hits. So, like, really, why is he so exhausted so quickly? That doesn't seem correct.
No, it's very strange. It's very strange. Jackie Chan is allowed to be exhausted because he's actually doing this shit.
Yeah, no, like, it's crazy. I do quite like the restaurant fight. That's just...
Yeah, it's
like,
a fun one.
It's funny because the movie felt the need in the dub to translate certain things, just like voiceover or whatever, whenever something was written. But then they just decided, yeah, I can read the sign. It says no, no refund or whatever it was. I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah,
no free foods or something like that. I forget already, but I was like, okay.
It's unfortunate that like you can't stream the original subbed version of this online, because I was running into the same problem, and I just ended up like buying a Blu-ray of it because I wanted to watch it in the original language.
I went to my local used DVD store because I'd been driving around with my fucking PS1 from 1995 in my car for like 3 months because my mom was like, "Here, get rid of this." And I was like, "Fuck it, I'll take it to this fucking Mega Replay then and see if they'll buy it." And I actually ended up getting like $25 for it, so woo. But I was like waiting for them to test it out and get me a price and stuff, and I'm like walking around the store trying to find Drunken Master in it, and I was so pissed off at this store because I get that like it's probably a pain in the ass to maintain strict organization of these 20-year-old DVDs and your 25 copies of The Departed or whatever. But like, Jesus fucking Christ, there was no organization to anything besides maybe the first letter will match.
Dang.
With the section you're in. It was just like crazy, and so I'm like, I had enough time. I was sitting there going through so much of the D's, but like the 7th or 8th shelf down the line, I keep finding the same movie that I found in the first shelf. I was like, I'm never going to find anything. Do you not want them to sell? How's anyone supposed to come in here and be able to find the movie they're looking for? They just got to get lucky? So I couldn't get that. Even if I'd gotten it, with how hard it is to find the original audio, I don't know if I would have had it. Even if I did find like a DVD release of this, I don't know. Generally, I'm not a big fan of subtitles. I've talked about why for years and years on the show, but like if you're making a movie, you're doing something within the visual art form, you probably don't actually want me looking down at the bottom of the screen trying to read what the characters are saying, and I feel like it is a less of a compromise actually to just do a good dub than it is to do subtitles and keep the original audio to enjoy the experience. But that's just me, and I'm probably wrong, but that's how I feel.
I mean, it's tricky because there is always just like so much visual mastery in certain filmmakers, and if you're just constantly looking at subtitles, it does feel like you're taking yourself out of the experience a bit. I have a hard time like watching really really long movies that are entirely subtitles. Like I could do like a
Mhm.
like a 90-minute kung fu movie pretty easily, but you tell me to like watch like a 3-hour Chinese film, and I'm sure it's good and I'm sure I'm gonna like it, but like the subtitles can be kind of exhausting sometimes, especially if I'm meant to be kind of looking at what's going on. What's nice though
Mhm.
is like the more often you do it, um, the quicker you get used to it, and at a certain point, you don't even really realize that you're reading the subtitles anymore. With movies like this, like martial arts movies, the cartoonishly bad dubs are also sometimes part of the joy, because a lot of these would be on
Mhm.
TV that way. So like I'm not
Mhm.
opposed to watching like Drunken Master dub. The thing is just like I'd only ever seen the dubbed as a kid, so I wanted to
Mhm.
watch the original audio of it and just kind of compare. And I know they changed some of the names and stuff, so I wasn't sure if I was missing any details or something by only watching it that way. But as far
Mhm.
as I can tell, like just by from cursory research, the only major difference is like his name isn't Wong Fei Hung in this; it's Freddy.
Yeah, yeah, that was probably the moment that had me go, okay, it's not exactly going to be the most accurate dub, but that's fine. Um, I don't know. I had a good time with the dub. It didn't feel like distracting or overly bad. It was a little rough in the beginning, but like I said, I think I got used to it pretty quickly. Um, there is like one of the more controversial things. This is like completely different topics. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I've been seeing some clips from movies doing this, and I'm curious. I'm not curious what you think. I know what you're gonna say, but I'm just curious to talk about it for a sec. Have you seen the AI lip flap modifications that have been done to movies that are getting um, released,
I've seen.
where they'll get like an actor to do the voice, but then they'll use like an AI tool to just go in and adjust the lip flaps to match the new language stuff.
Yeah,
So
I've
a
seen
movie can be
that.
filmed once and released in multiple languages.
Yeah, that kind of technology is less egregious, I think, than like generative AI, because
Hmm.
that kind of AI is strictly algorithmic. It's like we have a specific source of what we want, and we are just using a computer to speed up the process of what we would normally do by hand anyway. They do some similar stuff for like having to do multiple bits of color correction on movies, where like
Hmm.
you need to change one detail, and you could do it every single frame by hand digitally, but if you just create an algorithm to do it for you, then it's going to save you a lot of time. And that kind of stuff is less egregious than generative AI, because it's not like changing the performance or anything in that same sort of way. But it is kind of it's one of those sort of borderline surreal things where like I think when you see it, you notice something is just slightly off because it's almost too
Hmm.
perfect sometimes.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things. We're still pretty early days on it, so I'm sure that would get kind of ironed out. It
Yeah.
was what was it? The guy that directed Parasite was like, oh, once you get over the 1 inch gap of subtitles, the whole world will be open up to you. And it's like, no, it's not that like I have to get over it. It's that I find it actively distracting. um, like I could do it, but I'm here to watch the movie, not read it. And that's always been like a thing in the back of my head. So I don't know. But then yeah, the problem is the difference between a good dub and a cheesy dub really can make all the difference. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
and
I
there's
I
just
tend
not.
to think just better dubs would be nice.
And yeah, and for a lot of places, like there's just not enough access to certain kinds of releases with good subtitles or good dubs. Like Drunken Master is by no means like lost media, but it sort of feels that way when it's so hard to get a copy of the Blu-ray and it's so hard to watch it any other way besides it being dubbed. I would be less annoyed with that kind of stuff if I just had more of the option. Like it's like when we did that streaming episode where
Mm.
I was talking about that one Clint Eastwood movie that's in Japanese, but you can only watch it dubbed on Amazon for some godforsaken reason. So like
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
be less mad about its existence if I just had the choice.
No, I get that. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know. That's just an interesting one to interesting like little side tangent thing. Because generally, I think if like AI as a whole was not so controversial, like if it had started to be rolled out like this instead of like now we can use it to just make the movies. It's like no, fuck, what are you doing here? That's crap. um,
And like the kind that you're talking about is just expansions on technology that we've had for years. And that's like the big
mhm,
problem with the AI conversation is AI is such a marketing word now that everything's being
mhm.
rebranded AI, but like the stuff that is a problem and the stuff that is just extensions of things we've done, those are two very different technologies and they all keep falling under the umbrella of AI.
Yeah, yeah, and that's annoying. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I quite liked it. Uh, the clips I've seen doing that, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. But
Yeah.
we'll get there. The thing that like makes it stand out to me more than anything is you can just tell that it's dubbed, and I don't know where we lost the skill to do good ADR because I remember at one point I learned that like all of the original Star Wars movies were just done in ADR because
Yep.
that was just the way you made movies at the time. And I'm just like, but that what? Like that fucking blew my mind so hard. And then I just sat there and thought about like every shitty dub I've ever seen and went like, the fuck happened?
We used to be good at it. We used to be well, we used to make movies with ADR where the actors knew they had to come back and dub their scenes later as opposed to just like getting people to fill in here and there. We used to not shoot movies with the mentality that we can just fix it in post and actually kind of plan around those sorts of things. So I think a lot of the industry just got lazy when it comes to things like that.
Yeah, you might be right. It's one of those things of like I was talking to a friend at work the other day about like remember when we playing PS2 and you like saved fucking 40 games on your 8 MB memory
Hell
card?
yeah, man.
How did what happened? Like we used to be so when it mattered, people would code more efficiently so that you could be able to do that, and then they just got like better systems for housing storage and stuff, and so like suddenly the people stopped being efficient with the coding because they didn't quote unquote need to be. But now every time like a new game comes out, you've got to fucking delete the whole old game.
Dude,
um,
this is completely off topic, but I want to hear your reaction to this. I want you to guess how many gigabytes of storage a Call of Duty game takes up on a PlayStation.
I'm gonna go with 60.
Okay, it's about 2 to 300.
Jesus fucking Christ! What are we doing?
2 to 300 gigs to fully install a modern Call of Duty game.
That's ridiculous. Someone
Nuts.
needs to be hurt. Someone needs to be hurt now.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad out there. It's bad for gamers.
Yeah. Ugh. No, that's so crazy. So yeah, fucking like living back in the day with the 8 megabytes. But no, it's just that same thing of like, well, we don't need to anymore, so we just got lazy about it. And it's
Yep.
like, well, I'm not saying that we needed to be as efficient as we used to be, but like clearly something was lost by not doing this right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's annoying. It's annoying, and people should feel bad.
I agree.
Mistakes were made.
One last thing I did want to mention about Drunken Master before we end this off is I really like the guy that plays his dad, and I wish he was in more of the movie because the scene early on where he comes back to the school and he realizes that the girl he hit on and the lady that beat him up were his cousin and aunt, and he's trying to hide his face the whole time. All of that is so funny. I wish that was more of the movie.
Yeah, no, I like that quite a bit. It's interesting. It makes me want to go back and rewatch Drunken Master 2 then, because I just remember it completely differently. So it's like, it feels like it should be a sequel, but from what I remember, it clearly can't be unless, like, his dad just changes his mind after the fucking drunken style saved his life. Like, I don't know what the second one is about, or if Jackie Chan just decided he wanted to, like, redo the premise after he got big. I don't know, because, like, that's one of the things I know I've heard Jackie Chan talk about in interviews, is, like, he doesn't really... It's not that he doesn't care about his American movies, but he uses them just to fund his, like, passion projects, which are the movies he makes over in China. And I know Drunken Master 2 is one of those because, again, I remember it being dubbed, but I think Jackie was, like, actually dubbing himself at that point.
Yeah.
Because his career had, like, worked out that way. I did need to look that up of who the hell dubbed Jackie Chan at this, because it's clearly not him.
Yeah, Jackie Chan's a little bit like George Lucas in that he's always kind of picking at his own work. The difference is he's not remastering his old movies. He's just making sequels because he can now do things that he wasn't able to do before. So like Drunken
Yeah.
Master 2 is not like a recent sequel to the first movie. It comes out like almost 20 years later. And then like he makes multiple Police Story movies, and he did 2 like modern reboots of Police Story. He's got a couple of Project A movies. Like he loves his sequels.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it works the first time, why
Right.
fuck with it? It's interesting because that was the other option we were gonna have, is like, should we do this or should we do fucking Rush Hour and Shanghai Noon, because those are just like clearly trying to do the same thing.
Right.
It's really interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good time. All right. Well, I think we're pretty wrapped up on this one. I don't think we've got much else to say about the movie itself. Go watch Drunken Master. It's a good time. The dub's free on YouTube. Someone's uploaded it for free, so go enjoy that. And if you can find the original audio, good luck. Anyway, let's go ahead and go into ratings. I will give Drunken Master, I think, I can't remember what I put Fist of Legend at, and I feel like it was this, so I've got to go higher. I was going to say 3.5, but I feel like I've got to go higher because I think that's where I put Fist of Legend, and I like this more. So I'm going to go with a 4 out of 5 flirty drunken ladies.
I'm gonna go with I'll be right there with you. I really like this movie. I'll give it 4 out of 5 medieval torture horse stances.
Oh, alrighty. So that'll do it for this week. Alfie said he would be back for next week, and he wants us to talk about is it IP Man or Ip Man?
It's Ip Man.
Ip Man. Okay, I've always just read it. I don't think I've heard many people like talk about it. So should be an interesting one. I've had that one kind of like on my radar for years. So it'll be interesting to finally watch it. All right. Till then, everyone, thanks so much for watching. I'm the Philosopher,
And I'm the Luddite.
and we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be. Hello.